Welcome to the Soul Seeker podcast. I'm your host, Sam Kabert. I started this pod back in 2019 when I was taking my first steps on the path of remembering. And at the time, the tagline for the show was a journey of self-discovery. A year later, it became a journey of remembering. Yet what I know now is back then I was still seeking. And what I've come to know now is that it's the journey of seeking that brings us the silent, slow stillness of acceptance. And therein lies our own innate wisdom. It's my mission now to eradicate the glorification of hustle culture, as it was my drive in entrepreneurship that led to a greater whole, and that's because I was outsourcing my sovereignty rather than looking within. So let this be your invitation to take a deep breath in and remember that at any time we can shift our thoughts and our feelings to create the outer world in which we wish to live. Soul Seekers, it's time to grow. Let's go. Hey there, and welcome back to another episode of the Soul Seeker podcast. I'm your host, as always, Sam Kabert, and we are sitting down with the Charley Johnson. I say the Charley Johnson because I have such a special place for Charley in my heart. He wrote the foreword for my book, Soul Life Balance. He's been a massive teacher and friend and all the things in my spiritual journey. And we think this is his third time coming on the podcast. So basically every 100 episodes he comes on. So we got to get you on more, Charley. But before we get into you, let's do what we always do, what we've been doing in the past, I don't know, maybe 100 episodes or so, and just dive in with 3 simple breaths. So if you are doing something, if you're driving, whatever, don't close your eyes. You can still breathe with us. If you are in a place to slow down and take a seat, I invite you to find a seat and slow down. Otherwise, just breathe with us. Charley, for you, for me, and for those that can, go ahead and close down your eyes, sitting straight up, and just pausing at your next natural exhale. And through the nose, inhaling up. At the top of the breath, through the nose, sipping in a bit more. And sighing it out. Another like that. Slow, deep inhale through the nose. Sipping in a bit more air at the top. And sighing it out. One last one. Slowest, deepest breath yet. Slowly through the nose. Inhaling up. Top of the breath, sipping in a bit more. And sighing it out. Letting the breath return to its natural state and rhythm. And just flickering the eyes back open. All right, here we are. Charley, welcome back to the show.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I think it is number 3.
Number 3?
I think so.
Yeah, I'm surprised that you haven't been on more, but I'm happy to have you here. So we haven't been as connected in the past couple of years, but I mean, such is life, you know, come and go and whatever, but we've been connecting more over these past few months. Would love to hear from, or just, you know, you can explain what you're up to now. For people that are familiar with your story, you and I met through the promotional products industry. You were executive director of the Pay It Forward Foundation. Now you're working on some really cool stuff. But what I'd love to get into is kind of like the awakening of consciousness, what your journey has been like these past couple of years and what you're working on now. So the floor is yours, my friend.
I think what I've been working on the last couple of years is the stuff that we're forced to work on. You know, you and I have talked about the spiritual path, and there's a lot of choices we've made and a lot of things we do along this path for years, decades, sometimes. And then there's the stuff that you still don't want to deal with, that the universe with the shift of consciousness on this planet forces people to deal with, like it is now. And that's part of the reason why we haven't been connected. I feel like I've become like an introvert. I've become, there's been a lot of time where I haven't felt myself because it's we're so good at hiding stuff. We're so good at lying to ourselves, suppressing stuff. We're so good at thinking we're further along than we are. And the universe allowed me to know that I was so full of shit. And again, I didn't feel myself. I didn't feel comfortable. I didn't feel like being social. I didn't feel like connecting with people. I don't know why. That's just the way it was.
Well, we're here now, right? And I'm
Hmm.
kind of going through a similar thing today, actually. I mentioned to you before, I was like, yeah, a lot of things coming up. I had a pretty profound realization just walking through grief of another mentor and coach of mine, Joe Szynski. Shout out to him. But he was my first business coach like 15 years ago, give or
Hmm.
take. And we were on the board of the chamber together. We did a lot together. And then I went on spiritual journey, moved out of Silicon Valley, Santa Cruz, didn't see him for like 6 years, but we stayed connected. And then I rejoined the chamber on the board about 6, 9 months ago. So now I've been seeing Joe every single week. We are working on a couple projects together. It's been awesome and just such a bright light and positive energy. And he passed in his sleep a week ago today, actually. And
Wow.
it took me till yesterday to not only shed one tear, but like break down and like, that cry where you're like shaking. And it
Yeah.
just taught me so much in terms of like where I'm full of shit and things like that in my own way of what you just mentioned. That was a realization I had this morning, right? Yeah.
It's incredible. I mean, it is just endless. It is, we're constantly looking for that end line and some type of resolution or solution to so many different things, but it is just endless. It is absolutely endless. The universe always catches you off guard. I'm sorry to hear that about your business coach and that friend of yours, man. That's incredible. How many what's going on right now? How many people are actually passing? How many people are choosing to leave this planet right now?
Yeah, I'm sorry too for the family. I was with his wife and son yesterday, and his son is actually in my certification program to learn breath
Mm.
work and NLP and emotional fitness and all the things. So I'm there, support him, his mom, all the things. But yeah, you're right. I need to remember that I also need people hold me, and support me. So I appreciate that. I would love to hear, like you just mentioned, there's a lot of people choosing to leave this planet right now. Let's unpack that a little bit more. Can you explain that a little bit more?
I think there was a lot of people who this was the time for them to leave. I think there's a lot of people who it's too much right now, and they're choosing to leave their nervous system. There's so many experts, there's so many intelligent people talking about what's going on this planet, and they've all got a little bit of a different angle of what's going on. But uh, from the last thing I've heard, just kind of piecing things together, disseminating some information from a bunch of different individuals, it seems, or from what I've heard, this is the first time we get to go through such a chaotic time and actually keep the physical body.
Hmm.
Where we've had so many resets in the past, or we've shifted into a different
Like
dimension, or did
floods.
whatever. Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing. When you talk about disclosure and you talk about clarity and the stuff coming up, I thought I knew a lot of stuff. I can't believe the shit that's coming up that makes perfect sense. I can't believe how much our history has been skewered and not skewered, just completely upended,
What's
upended.
just one example of like disclosure that you'd be specifically referring to?
Currently, an individual told me about, is it Tartaria? Tartaria?
Tartaria?
Tartaria? That
I'm not
civilization.
sure.
It's just the stuff, the mud floods, the Tartaria, and everything that's going on. Everything that was used to be a conspiracy theory back in the day, and now it's all coming out, coming. I mean, it's just as true as can be. All the stuff going on with UFOs and aliens and individuals and Epstein and this and that. It's just there's so much coming at us. It's like they used to say you go from a garden hose to a fire hose. It's not even a fire hose. You are just being drowned. 8 billion people are just being drowned in information right now, and it's unbelievable how much
Mm.
information is coming about. It's too
Yeah,
much.
yeah, it's a lot, you and I have had some voice texts and a few phone calls over the past several months. And I mentioned to you, I was like, yeah, I know all that stuff is happening, but it never gets brought up my day to day. Like every now and then someone will bring something up and be like, "Oh my God, the Epstein files or this or Trump's doing that or whatever the thing is that is happening, right? Or the natural disaster." But on a daily basis, it doesn't come up. And, there's a lot of stuff that I have to personally sit with there, be like, okay, am I spiritually bypassing to not like consciously and seek out a way of being informed? But then it's also being like, I also know the agenda of being informed, right? So just curious, anything that pops up for you there?
I've been on both sides of the coin. I remember back in my 20s and 30s, I don't think I was ignorant because I knew what was going on. Those conversations always came up, whatever was going on in my 20s and 30s, but it didn't impact me like it impacts me now.
Hmm.
So I understand both sides. I understand. I understand that if it doesn't come up or you're not aware of it, people will say you're ignorant or you're not really helping. But then there's the other case where that if you're having an incredible time and you understand what's going on, but you're still, shining your light and doing good things, then that's exactly what the world needs. One intelligent person will say you need to fight, and you need to let people know what's going on this planet. The shit that's built going on needs to be stopped. You need to put a stop to it. And others say every time you put energy towards it, just grows it.
Mm.
I tell you, I gotta be. I've never been more confused in my existence. When I started learning all this stuff, it was really cool at the time to feel
Yeah.
like you were figuring something out or you knew something. I don't know shit. I
Yeah.
don't know shit, man. We get such a small fraction of the information and a small fraction of the light in this physical realm of ours. We don't know shit. We don't know
I,
shit.
I mean, you and I haven't connected since I've gone deep on NLP and become a master practitioner and a trainer of NLP, neuro linguistic programming, which is the study of the unconscious mind and how your unconscious mind creates your reality. And it also has a spiritual component because basically your higher self, your soul, whatever resonates with those of you listening, that communicates to your unconscious mind. Your unconscious mind communicates to your conscious mind. So it definitely is all spiritual. But um, it's so good to learn the learnings of NLP because there's been so many times in my awakening unfolding where I've just like received these messages, or we could call them downloads of things, and then learning about it through NLP or even like quantum physics and quantum entanglement. It's like, oh my God, I've experienced that, let's call it intuitively, but now I have the language to put to it. And one thing I used to talk about back maybe 6 years ago or more, probably 5, 6 years ago, was people talk about like manifestation as a positive thing, like, oh, manifest your dream life or abundance and all this stuff, right? But like, who talks about the I'm just going to say negative, quote unquote, negative side of manifestation, to your point, where we put more energy into something and then we attract more of that, right? It's
Hmm.
like, oh, there's this situation, then there's so much more that's coming up. I went through that dark night in May of 2020 when I watched the documentary Out of Shadows. Have you heard or seen that one?
No. Mm-mm.
Oh man, it got banned pretty quick on YouTube. I think it's back up on YouTube these days, but basic idea was it was a stunt double just talking about all the like adrenochrome and all the different stuff
Mm.
that's going on in Hollywood, and their celebrity dinner parties where they're like eating people and all the thing.
Hmm.
It's not a rabbit hole I'm an expert on. At the time, 6 years ago, I went super deep down that rabbit hole. And to your point, more stuff was just popping in because I put so much attention and energy. And then I started to shame myself because I wasn't doing anything about it. And
Hmm.
finally, I got to a point of realizing that's not my lane.
Hmm.
If I'm going to put my attention and energy there, I had better do something about it. And I am, because my lane, to your point, is spreading the light and teaching people and focusing on this stuff. So that's kind of where I sit on it now. And I'm just curious, like, what's coming up with you for
No,
you now?
no, that's perfect. That is perfect. If you are here to spread light, spread light. If you're here to take motherfuckers out, take motherfuckers out. Both are needed.
Mhm.
Absolutely, both are needed. Someone has to stand up and stop the shit. It's probably not going to be you and I, right? We can get angry about it, but it's both in this dualistic 3D realm. Both are needed. Someone needs to spread the light and someone needs to stop the shit. Neither of them are better than the other one, but both are necessary. So I completely understand what you're saying. But it's interesting, all the stuff that's coming up. And, I always say it's like swimming in a pool of red dye, trying not to be red. So if you
Mm.
can do what you're doing and still be red, but still spread that light and it doesn't impact you, and you're not pulling that energy in. So when I talk about it, like in our, phone calls the last couple of months or voice texts, and it's not coming up in your world, that's a great thing. Because the one thing I have known, I said earlier in this podcast, I don't know shit. One thing I do know is that my external world starts with my internal world. And everything that is painful or suffering or something I don't like externally, it all started internally. The way I talk to myself, the thoughts, the whatever it is. It's incredible how that works. That's exactly how this universe works.
100%. And there's an amazing book I just read called Outsmarting Reality. It's fantastic. It's so good. Have you heard of it?
No.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Like, it's a sexy title, right?
Mm-hmm.
Outsmarting reality. It's not that I'm saying like, oh yeah, guys, listen to or read the book. It's non-audible. You just read it, and simple, easy book, and then you can outsmart your reality. It's a sexy title, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
attention grabbing. But to your point, it's talking about how the external world that we experience is based off our internal world, a very deeply spiritual belief, as well as rooted in NLP and neuro-linguistic programming, right? So yeah, I couldn't agree with that more. And the one thing that is always interesting to me is the people that get so caught up in like the news or all this stuff and being like, oh, the world is so fucked up. I've always looked at it and been like, and right, like, because those are the same people that are just complaining about it, but they're not doing anything about it. So
Mm-hmm.
that's where I was previously, and that's when I finally got to that realization, is being like, well, if I'm not going to be the one that is the warrior putting out the fires or whatever, I can be the warrior in a different way of spreading the
Mm-hmm.
light versus challenging it. And that, I think that can be very impactful for people listening to understand, like, it doesn't have to be the way that you think it needs to be in terms of addressing it.
No, yeah, it needs to be what you're comfortable with. It needs to be what your karma is. You need to understand that if you're a light bearer, then be the light. If you're someone who came to fight, fight.
Mhm.
Neither. I mean, that's the one thing that has driven me the craziest is the Republican and Democrat, Catholic and atheist, light bearer versus fighter. Every side thinks they're better than the other, and every side thinks the other side is wrong. And that constant division creates this fucking world that we live in. So
Yeah.
if you own it, I think that's the greatest thing I've seen in you, Sammy. Is as time has gone on, um, I don't want to say you've gotten better because I think that's a very simple way of saying it. You have owned who you are.
Dude, I love that. Thank you. Thank you. I'll
That's
receive
that's
that.
that's better than saying better because I just got off a call, like a group call before this podcast, and some of these calls I can't do. Some of these group calls I can't do because they're just all jerking each other off and they don't give two shits about each other.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like you can just feel that internally. You want to give light, but I don't think there's anything worse on this planet than fake light.
Mm,
I think it's the biggest crock of shit, and it's caused so much. Anyways, but for you, you have really owned who you are. You've become who you were supposed to be.
years ago, I was like, own your woo. That was like my coming out party
Hmm.
and being spiritual, like owning your woo. And I just started my 7th book. I don't know what's going to come of it, how long it's going to be. I have no agenda towards it. It's a different one where I'm like, this is for me. And it might never, no, I've done this with another one, but this one truly may never see the light of day. But it's called Own Your Worth. And what I realized a few weeks ago was 3 years ago, I got the idea of writing a book called Own Your Worth. And I told myself consciously, I'm paraphrasing, but I told myself consciously along the lines of, when I finally feel that I have owned my worth to the fullest capacity, then I'll write this book. And
Perfect
this is
timing.
super. What's that?
I said perfect timing then.
Well, what's interesting is I went to Hawaii for this like spiritual tradition, this spiritual training, and whatever it's called, Huna. And I came back and I was just like watching the full moon and or watching the waves crash under the full moon. And I was thinking about my goals, it being spring and things like that. And I remembered what Napoleon Hill talks about, like you gotta give something up. And I was like, oh, I'm giving up subconscious self sabotage. And I was like, fuck, I've been trying to give that up for years. I'm like, oh, no wonder why I haven't given it up, because I'm saying I'm giving it up. I know better. I gave it up. So I declared like I gave it up. And then I was like, next thing I came through, I'm owning my worth. And then I realized, oh my God, everything I talked about in the book, Soul Life Balance, TED Talk, and all that stuff, like what I've shared so many times is what got me on the spiritual path was saying, when I achieve ABC, I will feel XYZ. And here, the cosmic joke of it all, I'm doing it again. When I finally feel worthy, I'll write a book about worthiness, right? So I was like, you know what? I'm just working on this for me. Anyways, that's been a little glimpse into where I've been at recently, which is interesting. Tell us about what's going on with your Tesla machine and the type of work you're doing now. I'm super fascinated in this.
So it's all the stuff that Tesla was playing around with in the early 1900s. I mean, this is the craziest thing about discussing this is there's nothing new about this. And there's quite a few people on this planet that have a machine like this. There's nothing special about it other than you and I know, and we've crossed paths with many of these people, incredibly kind-hearted individuals, incredibly powerful people, but they do onesie twosies. They'll help family and friends, or they'll help an autistic kid speak for the first time in his life, and then they just go back to life. They don't think about scaling. They don't think about business. That's the one thing, the heads and the tails of the coin, is it's either just a greedy son of a bitch capitalist, or these super strung out, dead broke spiritual individuals. And someone like you, that happy medium is where the world needs to be. And that's what we want to do with this machine, because it's using scalar wave technology, which is faster than the speed of light, and there's nothing new about that. It's a simple machine that we take 4 identifiers: a headshot, a date of birth, a city you're living in, and your full name. Those 4 identifiers separate you from the other 8 billion people on the planet. We put you on the machine on a plate. The machine starts to interact with your photo, because the photons in your photo are the same photons that are in your physical body. I should have said something before everyone started listening 5 minutes ago. Your logical mind needs to check out. Nothing about what I'm talking about is going to make logical sense. Nothing. And I mean, we'll talk to people who really understand consciousness and quantum. And the 2025 Nobel Prize was quantum tunneling. Like, it's nothing new, and it's actually being spoken about a lot. And they'll still ask the same questions. Very intelligent people. This machine is remote. There's no app. There's no pill to take. There's no session. There's no wearable. There's no meditation. There's no intention. It is legit. I get those 4 identifiers from you. I put you on the machine, and it goes to work. It takes the remedy that my partner's created over the last 10 or 15 years and pushes that out through scalar wave technology to harmonize what is out of balance in the individual. Now, for someone like you, and for probably many people listening to this, you guys do a lot of practices. Just like I got off the call with a lady by the name of Louisa today. She's already doing meditation. She's already doing breath work. You and a lot of people are already doing a lot of things. So to pinpoint what's going on or how much this machine is impacting the individual is quite difficult in a sense. But what it does is it gives you a clarity enough to see what's working. So a lot of people will come to me, like Louisa, and say, I'm feeling really good. Things are really locking into place, but I can't pinpoint if it's the work I've done for the last 6 months or it's because I've been on the machine for a week. Well, they never mentioned the work they've been doing for the last 6 months until they got on the machine. Just like, and we'll get more into the details. I just want to give a couple examples here. Just like a guy by the name of Michael Johnson. He was speaking to his higher self for the last 4 or 5 years. He was getting 1 to 2 word answers of guidance from her. He calls his higher self a her. Every month or so, every month or two, for 5 years. I put him on the machine. About 10 days in, I checked with him. I said, hey, how are things going? He's like, I don't think it's working. I was like, okay. That's fine. Because he was super high consciousness clarity. I didn't know if it was going to work. Maybe it was, just he was already there, too high of a frequency already. He's like, I don't think it's working. And I was like, oh, okay. He's like, oh, by the way, my higher self's now, for the first time ever, speaking to me in full sentences day after day. And I was like, oh, so it's not working, huh? He's like, oh, shit, man. Okay. So if there's healers out there, if there's Reiki, if Akashic record readers, speaking to your higher self, you're intuitive, you're energy healer, whatever it is, that's a certain frequency. You have a higher frequency than most people on the planet. You have abilities. That's just natural. Some people have them, some don't. What this machine will do is it'll amplify your abilities. Remote viewers. We've been working with some remote viewers. The things they're remote viewing are more clear. But for PTSD and veterans, it's incredible what it does. For suicidal ideation, a lot of parents are putting their suicidal teens on. Suicidal for years. Tens of thousands of dollars in therapy, tens of thousands of dollars in alternative schools, pulling their kids in and out of school, terrified every morning for years that they're going to wake up, the kid's gone. A week on the machine, and it's gone.
That's incredible.
Or severely minimized. Now, people listening, I get it. I understand the hesitancy or the skepticism. But the main thing we do with that is, all we ask is that you do a 2-week trial, free trial. See it firsthand, right? Because as Tesla and Einstein said, everything's frequency. Suicidal ideation is a frequency. Happiness is a frequency. Anger, depression, anxiety is a frequency. Clarity is everything's a frequency. So all this machine is doing is it's taking a very powerful remedy in the right way and harmonizing certain things that are out of balance. And for really sensitive people, and they'll work with us on this, they'll know when the machine turns on within like 5 minutes. They'll feel it. Now, again, everyone listening is going to say, well, how do you get the machine to me? What do I need to wear? How are these sessions? You could be on the moon. You could be on Mars. It's quantum entanglement. You will get the same thing, whether you're next to the machine or you're 10,000 miles away. We don't send you a machine. We don't send you a wearable. You don't download an app. There's no intention, no pills, no sessions, no appointments. It's 24/7 support. So it's kind of like having a guardian angel for 24/7 support all day, every day. Just subtle. Sometimes you feel it, sometimes you don't. But it's just sitting there helping you create a very strong baseline and shifting your frequency permanently. So in a sense, a lot of times on the extreme end, people who have severe trauma, that's why when you did it, you're a pretty centered guy already. I didn't expect magic, right? I didn't expect you to see rainbows. But people who are struggling really bad right now, I am blown away that, we've reached out to suicide prevention organizations and veteran organizations, and they think it's cute, but they won't really work with us, the larger ones, because it's just their conditioning won't get around it. Their conditioning won't allow them to go past something different. And let me remind you, it has 0 side effects. My partner's been doing it for almost 15 years, and he hasn't had as much as a headache.
For veterans, I'm happy to introduce you to the Siren Project. It's a first responders, I think veterans too, but they do like essentially medicine journeys for first responders. It's a nonprofit. That could be a good introduction. And have you seen the documentary? I think it's called Waves of War, or Waves for War.
No.
Do you know? It's about these veterans who were healing with Iboga, and I think Bufo too. And they did a documentary on Netflix. It was huge, and it was fantastic. I think just as the time of this recording a few days ago, and this is a whole nother rabbit hole we could talk about, but Trump signed
saw that.
Ibogaine, for vets. So anyways, they were a part of that initiative.
Oh, wow, that's great.
Yeah, they would be good ones to essentially.
Well, and see, and this is not a replacement for that. It's not a replacement for psychedelics. It's not a replacement for therapy. So a lot of the people that find out about us, that work with us, that they almost feel threatened that it's not a replacement. In a sense, you're only going to do psychedelics for a certain amount of time. You may have a breakthrough, and then you go.
Yeah, hopefully, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
What this does is it gives the individual support during the process, and then for weeks or months or however long after, it keeps it going. Through therapy, if you're a therapist and it usually takes you about 6 weeks for a breakthrough with a new patient, you'll probably get a breakthrough in 2 to 3 weeks with this. You're
So
shifting the individual's frequency. Why wouldn't you want that individual on it? And then you don't it's not us, it's you. You're still giving them therapy. So yeah,
mhm.
we're trying to let more people know and educate them about that, but then also work with people who have clients, patients, communities. We had two ladies, disabled vets. They got such good results. It was incredible. And they have a community of like 5,000 veterans. So they now are taking the broadcast service and turning it around and giving it to their community. It's
That's
incredible what
amazing.
it does.
Hey, it's Sam. Can I share something real quick that I think might actually help you? If you've ever felt overwhelmed by your emotions, like you're doing all the right things, yet you still feel off, it's not because you're broken. Most of us were never taught how to feel in a way that actually helps us heal. That's why I created Breath Club, a free community where I guide weekly breathwork sessions to help you regulate your nervous system, process emotions, and return to clarity. We use something called the 90-second reset, a simple, science-backed practice that shows how fast emotions shift when you allow yourself to feel them fully. You'll get access to live calls, a community, and on-demand breathwork exercises to reset anytime. No pressure, just an invitation to feel safe in your body again. Links in the show notes if you want to join us. Yeah, that's so incredible. I love to hear that. And for the conscious mind, for the analytical, logical mind that wants to understand it a little bit more, it can be difficult to find information on Nikola Tesla. I know I went down that rabbit hole maybe 4 or 5 years ago and learned some things I wasn't aware of. How much of it I actually retain? Not a lot, because a lot of it's really confusing, right? And it's hard to find that information for someone that might not know what you're talking about, or those of us that heard it but don't fully understand it. Can you bring us back to like what Nikola Tesla was working on so we can
Well,
understand this a bit more?
let me just give you a perfect example that will just it'll help the logical mind. So you and I are on laptops right now, right?
Hmm.
There's a laptop on this planet that has 1,000 terabyte memory card. Okay.
Okay.
All of human history is literally sitting outside of our laptop waiting for us to hit a certain number of buttons, a Google search, a download, a .com. Boom. Literally Wi-Fi, which we take for granted because that we all know Wi-Fi. We all use it. We got billions of laptops. It works on our phone, works on our laptops, works on our computers. It's just natural. Oh, it's just Wi-Fi. Are
Right.
you shitting me? Your laptop, every piece of human information is not inside your laptop. It's in the ether. It is
Mm.
right here, immediately waiting for you to type in specific things, just like when you type in a specific number and then hit one of 3 billion people have a cell phone. We take that for granted. But when I talk about Tesla, or I talk about a machine that will harmonize you, it's not different. Wi-Fi is carrying every ounce of human knowledge right here, waiting for you to hit a certain button on your laptop. It's like Wi-Fi. So your computer has an IP, your cell phone has an IP, you have an IP.
Mm.
Headshot, date of birth, city you're living in, full name. Those four things in the quantum field separate you from the other 8 billion people. When we put you on the machine, we hit it and we turn it on. It's just like typing in Charley Johnson, Salt Lake City, 1980, and then the remedy with the scalar waves just starts hitting me and you can feel it. It's the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of seekers, for lack of a better term, spiritual people can resonate with like either the Akashic field or the quantum, and
Hmm.
switching timelines when doing that sort of work. Why is it that how is it that this machine is able to do it, and why those four things? Because I mean, honestly, with me, my skeptical mind comes up because it's just my own conditioning programming. And how many times have we heard like, wait, human design or astrology or whatever you plug in, why is it, what? And then this thing is like those four basic things. How is the machine actually working, and specifically with those four things?
Well, everything's part of the quantum field. So you've done energy healings, right?
Hmm.
I assume most people listening have, like where it's just you and I on a Zoom call And I don't have that ability, but the healer has the ability, and you can feel energy coming down through your crown, right?
Mhm.
The human is kind of maxed out with its body, its nervous system. It can handle maybe one person at a time. I know individuals can do group healings, but they get tired. They can only do so much. They need to transmute it, right? They need to take a break, et cetera, et cetera. So it's like an individual bench pressing 250 pounds. That's pretty good. But we can build a machine that can bench press 2.5 million pounds. That's all the machine's doing. The machine, the human, the pitcher, the actual physical being. In the quantum field, it's no different. It's all the same. It's all one. And I know that's just confusing the logical mindset. It's the machine is just taking those 4 identifiers and working on it, sending that remedy through that individual. Because again, there may be someone that kind of looks like you, but do they have the same name? There may be someone with the same name in the same city and close to the same birthday, but do they? Those 4 identifiers, that's 4 things that separate. Now, there are other machines out there that want, they'll take like some blood, they'll take a piece of hair, they'll take a toenail. And those machines are very specific. Those are very specific to the individual. That's someone who's got stage 4 cancer and wants to really try one last ditch effort, 2 weeks of a very powerful remedy, specific just to just them, right? And it's very expensive, which it should be, because stage 4 cancer, nothing else on the planet's going to heal you. If it does heal you, that's worth your life, right? What we're doing is just for the masses. We made it accessible to everyone. It's a Netflix subscription, and it's just 24/7 subtle support in the background. And going through the time we're going through right now with such chaos, or such unstable time, it's a stabilizer.
Can you speak a little bit more to like what the machine consists of, like what it is?
So I've sent it to a few people, and they thought it was a joke. It looks like a radio tuner.
Mhm.
There's a lot of knobs on it, and you're just shifting. You're shifting frequencies. You're just tweaking it, right? There's no electricity. So there are machines out there that create a consciousness field, like FLFE and Quantum IO. Great companies doing incredible things, right? Um, from what I remember, they are plugged into the grid. So there's electricity, there's a current, there's interference in a sense. The reason why ours gets such incredible results is because there is no interference. It is not plugged into electricity. So again, I already asked the logical mind to check out. Now I'm telling you, our machine doesn't run off electricity.
Which is what Tesla was working on.
Correct. And
Yeah.
again, if you want to go into that rabbit hole and find out all the facts, not conspiracy, like
Mhm.
the fact that you and I are paying for this Wi-Fi and paying for this electricity pisses me off. All that shit is set, but that's exactly what Tesla was working on. There's no need for it.
So
There's
do
absolutely no need
you
for it.
guys have the technology to connect like instead of Wi-Fi to connect like this in a different way of Wi-Fi, or is that something else Tesla was working on?
That's a totally different thing. We don't have that machinery. I will tell you though that when it comes to quantum and the stuff, you'll see more and more articles talking about quantum physics, quantum entanglement, quantum computing, all of that. There are machines out there that, because we are like an IP address in the quantum field, there are machines out there which we don't have and we will never have, that can pinpoint where every single individual on this planet is at all times.
Yeah, and the government has that probably.
I know you laugh about that, but yeah, that's what disclosure is.
I'm
They
serious.
they
Yeah.
absolutely have that. When shit goes down, they know.
Well, that's why the government blocked Nikola Tesla from a lot of the history, and they took all his
100%.
files. And
100%.
there's one by either the FBI or the CIA, one of the agencies, where they talked about how Nikola Tesla was a Venusian alien,
Mhm,
alien from Venus incarnate.
mhm. Yep.
So,
Yep. Yeah. I personally, I listened to a guy the other day and it made perfect sense to me. He was an out of body guy, out of body experience, that Darius J. Wright and a couple of his guys. The stuff they talk about from direct firsthand experience is just incredible. And he remembers that he was a astrophysicist, or he was working with NASA. He's a very intelligent guy, and he started doing out of body, and he quit because he saw the truth of everything. And he said, there I was getting all these degrees, PhDs, trying to learn every book, listen to every podcast, and I realized the that human knowledge, the stuff I was going after, is such a small fraction of the truth that there was a reason why it never quenched my thirst. And that clicked with me for the first time 2 weeks ago. I've never been quenched by human knowledge because it's such a small part of what's really going on. And I'm very excited about what's going on this planet for that reason right there. I just want to know.
Yeah.
I want to know
I
how many times we've been reset, how many times all the conspiracies, what we could have had, all that shit. I just want to know. That's it.
you've been to Raven's Eye in Malibu, and I'll just say that. But there's been several medicine ceremony. Oops, so there we go. There's been several of those ceremonies where I've been at the end of it and had that exact realization. Like, all the content that we consume keeps us from accessing the content within us that we already know. And then it was like almost the cosmic joke of like, fuck, man, I'm a content creator, write books, do podcasts, and I produce more of it. So that's been something that I've wrestled with for a few years. And not that I forgot about it, but I mean, it's such a good reminder, because how many times do we read this book, listen to this podcast, or this whatever, fill in the blank, looking for the answer outside of ourselves versus like go into meditation or do journaling or do breath work to shut down the thinking mind and actually communicate with our higher self. So it's such a great point you bring up there.
And the other thing that he made mention is, they talk about light becomes matter and that we're only seeing less than 1% of light on
Mhm.
this 3D realm, right? Well, he says those out of body experiences, it's more physical over there, which makes
Mm.
perfect sense. That's 99% of the light.
More,
So when he,
yeah, go ahead.
yeah, so we think when we died out of body, it's spirit.
Mhm.
I love when I hear about this stuff because it makes perfect sense the way he logically talked about it.
Who
It's
is this
more
again?
Darius J. Wright.
Darius J. Wright. And is
Yeah,
there a specific thing to look into by him?
OBEs. He does out of body experiences. He does it
Okay.
and he's taught thousands of people. You ought to see him on some of his podcasts.
Okay, cool. So guys, it's Darius J. Wright, I assume, with a W.
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna look something up and I'll put in the show notes for you guys, and I'll just find something random, unless Charlie, you want to send me something.
I don't even know his website.
Yeah, no worries.
He's a black dude that looks like Jesus. He's incredible.
So, oh, I see him. Yeah, DariusJWright.com. There's so many different podcasts he's on. So I'll put that in the show notes. You can just click that and find something there. I'm definitely going to check it out for myself. Super fascinating. Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's kind of the cosmic joke of it, right? Like
Mhm.
it's a yes and, where it's like the content is within us, but also the content outside of us helps to activate the content within us. Like, for example, how many of you guys listening know there's that one spiritual teacher that activates you, whether it's Adyashanti or Dolores Cannon is a big one for me. Like, re-listening to some of Dolores Cannon's work, all of a sudden, like, I'm having a bunch of synchronicities after that, right? So it's a yes and absolutely. One book I've been getting, I just started. I'm a few pages in. So many people have talked about it over the years, and they also talk about it being really dense, but it's on this topic. Michael Talbot's is Talbot. I'm sure that's how you pronounce it. Holographic Universe.
Mhm.
That's one I'm just starting right now. Well, awesome. This is really good. I want to ask you about the 2025 quantum tunneling. I wasn't aware of that. I thought you were going to say quantum entanglement, which I think the Nobel Prize for quantum entanglement, if I'm not mistaken, might have been like 2023, give or take. But I don't know that I'm aware of the 2025 Nobel Prize for quantum tunneling. What is quantum tunneling?
I'm intelligent enough not to get into details, and all I'm going to say is just Google it and look it up.
Okay,
What
cool.
what they proved on a macro scale is quite incredible, which then leads into so many other things, which probably leads into the book you're talking about with the holographic universe and Darius J. I mean, it all just pieces together. It's incredible how conditioned we've been to be completely ignorant to all of this stuff. But I'm very happy that consciousness is shifting enough to allow us to see this stuff for for what it really is.
Yeah, absolutely. Uh, awesome. Well, this has been fun reconnecting and learning more about where your world's at. Hopefully, guys, there's some good takeaways for you. I think, at least for me, and I'm going to ask you as well, Charlie. But one of the takeaways for me is being mindful of where you're putting your attention and energy. If you are
100%.
putting your attention and energy into fear and doom and you're experiencing that in your external reality, there's no reason to question why. You already know why. We already talked about that, and you yourself have that innate intelligence to know that as well. So that's my massive big takeaway that has been so big for me and something I learned 6 years ago. So every now and then, let me say this. This was in the call before this. I have my students in my certification program saying practice makes practice. I'm like, fuck yeah, I love that, because that's one of the core philosophies that I teach that I learned from a yoga class. And this woman said practice makes practice. And I was beach yoga. I was in Warrior 2. I almost fell down and being like, practice makes practice. What are you talking about? Practice makes perfect. Noticed the conditioning within me and then realized, oh, what does that mean? It's like the NLP type of thing of there is no failure, there's only feedback. We're not focused on the end destination, we're focused on being in the journey. If you get off track, that's feedback to get back on track. That's practice makes practice. So I think all of that is really huge and big takeaways for people listening. What about you, Charlie? Is there any final takeaway that you want to drill home?
No, exactly what you said. That has been blatantly clear to me. My external world started a week ago, a year ago, 10 years ago, internally. And I just have to keep an eye. I have to keep an eye on that, because it's with the veil thinning and consciousness shifting like it is. It's manifestation, quote unquote, is happening very quickly, and it goes in the opposite negative direction too if your thoughts are that way.
Yeah, 100%. I hear those birds where you're at.
Is that there's some good birds. Yeah, there's some good birds in the backyard. Yeah.
Normally that doesn't come through, but the birds are chirping because they're like, listen to that.
Exactly.
I love it.
Yep.
Cool. Well, Charlie, what's the website for people listening so they can check it out?
Mental Wellness Lab, no S, mentalwellnesslab.com.
Great. And that will
2
be
week
in the
trial
show
on there. Yep.
Free trial, you said.
Mm-hmm.
Do they need a code, or it just has the information?
No, it's on every part. Every service, every product on there has the 2 week trial. There's a couples one, a family one for athletes, and then one for veterans and everything else. So
cool. Sounds good. Well, thank you so much, Charlie. It's awesome to sit down with you again. I would love to do this more often with you. It's a crime that I've only had you on the podcast 3 times, and we're over 300 episodes.
Yeah, we'll change that up.
Cool. Sounds good. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Sammy. See you, man.